means that we are, as a church, open and welcoming to LGBTQ plus communities. And so we have been such since the early 90s sometime. And that's a long time ago. And language has changed, society has changed. There's all kinds of learning that we can do to continue our welcoming status. And so if you have any interest in joining that conversation after the service today, we'll reconvene up here after a little bit of time for social downstairs. We'll reconvene up here and we'll continue that conversation of the process by which we renew our welcoming status. Third thing, owl. Not as in the owls we will be talking about today, but as in our whole lives, sexuality, orientation, conversation about identity, that curriculum will be offered by the 3 Unitarian Universalist congregations in Waukesha County, beginning in February. Actually, the orientation for parents will be late in January, and then beginning in February, classes will be held every week, Sunday afternoon, Sunday late afternoon and evening, here at United through mid-May. That means that the whole church will be used by the OWL folks during that time. We've checked the calendar, and it's on the church calendar, and there should be no conflicts, but just so you know, we're hosting OWL this year, and I think that's a great thing. Today we are taking an OWL walk later in the day. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. I have a few immediate needs. Let's see. There is a giving tree downstairs, our annual Christmas Clearing Council tree with gift cards on it. Next Sunday is the last Sunday to bring items for the giving tree. We can still accept cash after that time, correct? Cash today or next Sunday.
So Jennifer or Ellen will be here later after service. Can take your cash.
Ellen Poplowski.
Has some boxes downstairs if you need boxes.
Great. Ellen Poplowski is the person to see, and she will be around a little later on. She's not here with us for service, but she promises to be here after worship. Next Sunday, we need a greeter and a child care worker. So if you are willing and able, please let me know. And today also, in addition to the Social Justice Council and everything else that I just talked about, we'll be decorating the tree. So following worship, if you have an interest in hanging some ornaments on the tree, please gather up here and we'll do our best. With that, now it's time to begin. Today is the beginning of Advent, a time of anticipation. These days, it's common to think about anticipating the celebration of the birth of Jesus on Christmas. But in the Middle Ages, this was not so. Oh, I have one more announcement. We're anticipating this one.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rick. I just wanted to give one last reminder for the search committee meeting this Thursday at 5:30 p.m. So this will be where we do the work of finding our next minister after David moves on. The first kind of mission of this committee will be to make an online profile where prospective ministers will be able to see us as a congregation. In order to make this online profile, we need to answer a series of questions given to us by the UUA. So we'll need members who are familiar with our history, how we engage with our community, how we seek justice and fight forces of oppression, how we operate behind the scenes, and so on. Once we do this, that's when, once we answer all these questions, that's when our profile can be published online and ministers can apply to work here. So at that point, we could be moving forward. And this is a great place, this is a great congregation, so let's articulate that. Let's let that shine, let's let people see that. So if you have any questions, please let me know after the service. And again, that's this next Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Thank you.
Can't come soon enough. You got to get rid of this one. Okay, back to the script. In the Middle Ages, Advent wasn't so much about anticipating Christmas as it was about anticipating the second coming of Christ. Advent was a time of fasting and preparation, and they were anticipating the time when Jesus would come to judge the quick and the dead and establish the kingdom of God here on earth. Now, that language might strike some fear and trembling into us as you use, but if you strip away the language of judgment, war and strife and hardship, this is a time when things are made right, when inequality and injustice are removed from the earth. In our language, this is a time of beloved community. So you can equate the coming kingdom of God with beloved community without the feudal language. Similarly, the Advent wreath has come to be interpreted differently. As rituals go, this one's not that old. The Advent wreath dates back to about the 1830s when a Lutheran minister in Germany devised a way to mark time so that his congregants would stop asking him, "How long will it be till Christmas?" He turned a wagon wheel on its side and set down candles for every day leading up to Christmas, and every day he would light another one so that his congregants who did not have Google or apparently even calendars would be able to tell how soon Christmas would come. Eventually, the number of candles was pared down to 4 for the 4 Sundays leading up to Christmas. And sometimes a 5th candle is used in some churches. We have adopted the 4-candle system here. And our first candle most often signifies hope. Hope for the future, hope for beloved community. So as we light our Advent candles this year, consider how you might anticipate a time when things are made right. So, Molly, would you come up to help us light, please? And Maria will lead us in our chalice lighting.
Each Sunday, we light our flaming chalice, a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Please join me in saying the words here and on the wall. May this cane flameless warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. Here together, we scatter and nurture seeds of spirit, service, and community.
All right, let's sing together. We're going to try hymn number 1003 in the Teal hymnal, Where Do We Come From? If we had a bigger group, I thought perhaps we would try to do this as a round, but let's just sing through this. It's 4 verses. We'll just sing through them in succession. Does that sound okay? Yep. Please rise in body or spirit.
What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where do we come from? Mystery, mystery, life is a riddle and a mystery, mystery, mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? I'll sing with this side. There's those
Pick a
people over
part
here.
and sing it, and it might be fun.
If you are starting on part 1, 3, or 4, this is your note. If you are starting on part 2, this is your note. Where do we come from? 1, 2, let's do it twice. And where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? I changed parts.
Wow. Okay. So we're going to switch up the order a little bit today. Usually I do the story right now, but we're going to do Joys and Sorrows. For some time, Joys and Sorrows has been off camera. We have done this for your privacy and to encourage people to share openly. We also, at the last worship team meeting, had a conversation about how the camera is really an open door for the congregation and how it welcomes in people who are not here physically for us. And through the pandemic, of course, we used the camera exclusively. And we have continued to have a group of people who follow us every week. Every week, there are always 1 or 2 people who are live streaming, concurrent with us. Hello. I don't know who they are, of course, but they're always there. Throughout the week, then we get another 10 to 20 people, or actually views. You can't really tell whether these are individual people or not, or people who have tuned in, but 10 to 20 views throughout the week. So it's a fairly small group. In theory, when you are here on camera, you are out there for the entire world. There could be someone in Singapore watching you. This is true. But in reality, it's not. It's us. It's us in this congregation. So a couple of weeks ago, when we held an ancestors service, we had this conversation about whether people would choose to be on camera or off camera. And if you remember how that worked, we let people who were comfortable coming forward and being on camera do so and be there for the duration of the sharing. And then at the end of that, then we announced a time when we would close the camera, and people who are uncomfortable being on camera would then be able to come forward. For those of you who are out there watching, right now, the way we have been doing it, that Joys and Sorrows time can be a lot of kind of waiting around. So it helps if we can share with the camera. So we're going to try that with Joys and Sorrows. If you are comfortable being on camera, I'm going to invite you to come up forward, as we usually do, share what's on your heart, take a stone from the bowl, tell us your name, tell us what's on your mind, and when you are finished, place the stone in the bowl with the water to let the ripples carry your concerns out to the wider community. When we are toward the end of that time, then I'll invite Aaron to turn the camera off. And if there are still some folks who are uncomfortable being on camera, then it's your turn to come forward. Does this make sense? Okay. All right. So I invite you to come forward.
I'm Donna, and I want to thank all of you for celebrating my birthday. My goal was 92 non-perishable foods. We had 162, and two $92 donations. Plus, some of this most of it came from the congregation, some from family, some from friends. But it was my dream, and I was so excited and thankful to all of you.
I'm Patty. Moving into different work environments where I start over with a whole new group of people to get to know and learn and be in community with seems to be something I keep doing. But in a community I'm working with now, and in a month where we're focused on mystery and this hopefulness about a baby, there's a baby who lived 24 hours named Aubrey. So have a lot of feelings for her mother, who I don't know well yet.
Hi, I'm Chet. Baby Manu, the baby who had, what's it called again, meningitis. He'll be coming home in a couple days, hopefully, so he's feeling better. And they had some new nurse staff come in, and he was really scared. So that was a good sign, too. They were saying, he's kind of reacting to things. They were worried about his mental. And, but they calmed him down. And then Sally's dad, who's rehabbing from a broken hip, is in good spirits, but not all the time. So keep them in your prayers.
My name is Molly, and I'm Kaylin. And this weekend, we had a sleepover at her house, and it was really fun. It was last night. And then today, she came to church with me, and we're going to hang out for the entire day and go on the owl hike. We're really excited, so.
Hi, I'm Kim, and this microphone does work, which is good. Yesterday, I was in the living room. You can look out to the south, and there were a bunch of birds flying around, and they were blackbirds, so they were probably crows. And I noticed in the tree across the property that there was a big bird sitting in the tree. And it proved to be a large raptor. And since its head wasn't white, it was probably a golden eagle. And it flew away, and my gosh, that's a big bird. So here's to all those birds that are migrating around because the weather is chasing them out of the north, and glad to see you.
Hi, I'm Adele. And just because my life has been so calm and peaceful the last couple of months, I have decided to go on a huge career change, and I resigned from my job on Friday. I took early retirement, and there's been a lot of creative projects that I've been wanting to do for like 20 years. So I'm giving myself permission to do that, and I'm not going to tell you any of them unless there's an editor out there in the free world. But yes, I am very excited, and I'm not telling any of my family because they would probably just panic. But I wanted to share that just as a very, very important joy in my life.
Here's Adele's stone. And I'll invite Aaron to turn off the camera now and invite anyone who wishes to also share. Please come forward.
walking with you. Walking with you is our prayer.
Okay. Shoo. Finally, we're going to get to it. I have a story. This one is a very old one, a very favorite one of mine. It is Owl Moon. It was given to us by my Aunt Joyce. It was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Pa and I went owling. There was no wind, the trees stood still as giant statues, and the moon was so bright the sky seemed to shine. Somewhere behind us, a train whistle blew, long and low, like a sad, sad song. I could hear it through the woolen cap Pa had pulled down over my ears. A farm dog answered the train, and then a second dog joined in. They sang out, trains and dogs, for a real long time. And when their voices faded away, it was as quiet as a dream. We walked on toward the woods, Pa and I. Our feet crunched over the crisp snow, and little gray footprints followed us. Pa made a long shadow, but mine was short and round. I had to run after him every now and then to keep up, and my short, round shadow bumped after me. But I never called out. If you go owling, you have to be quiet. That's what Pa always says. I had been waiting to go owling with Pa for a long time. We reached the line of pine trees, black and pointy against the sky, and Pa held up his hand. I stopped right where I was and waited. He looked up as if searching the stars, as if reading a map up there. The moon made its face into a silver mask, and then he called, "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo," the sound of a great horned owl. Hoo, 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 hoo. He called out again, and after each call he was silent. And for a moment we both listened, but there was no answer. Pa shrugged, and I shrugged. I was not disappointed. My brothers all said, sometimes there's an owl, and sometimes there isn't. We walked on. I could feel the cold, as if someone's icy hand was palmed down on my back, and my nose and the tops of my cheeks felt cold and hot at the same time. But I never said a word. If you go owling, you have to be quiet and make your own heat. We went into the woods. The shadows were the blackest things I had ever seen. They stained the white snow. My mouth felt furry, for the scarf over it was wet and warm. I didn't ask what kinds of things hide behind black trees in the middle of the night. When you go owling, you have to be brave. Then we came to a clearing in the dark woods. The moon was high above us. It seemed to fit exactly over the center of the clearing, and the snow below it was whiter than the milk in a cereal bowl. I sighed, and Pa held up his hand at the sound. I put my mittens over the scarf over my mouth and listened hard. And then Pa called, "Hoo, hoo, 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 hoo." I listened and looked so hard my ears hurt, and my eyes got cloudy with the cold. Pa raised his face to call out again, but before he could open his mouth, an echo came threading its way through the trees. Hoo, 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 hoo. Pa almost smiled, and then he called back, "Hoo, hoo, hoo," just as if he and the owl were talking about supper, or the woods, or the moon, or the cold. I took my mitten off the scarf off my mouth, and I almost smiled too. The owl's call came closer from high up in the trees on the edge of the meadow. Nothing in the meadow moved. All of a sudden, an owl shadow, part of the big tree shadow, lifted off and flew right over us. We watched silently with heat in our mouths, the heat of all those words we had not spoken. The shadow hooted again. Pa turned on his big flashlight and caught the owl just as it was landing on a branch. For 1 minute, 3 minutes, maybe even 100 minutes, we stared at one another. And then the owl pumped its great wings and lifted off the branch like a shadow without sound. It flew back into the forest. "Time to go home," Pa said to me. I knew then I could talk. I could even laugh out loud, but I was a shadow as we walked home. When you go owling, you don't need words or warm or anything but hope. That's what Pa says, the kind of hope that flies on silent wings under a shining owl moon. That's my story. Let's sing the kids out. Abby will take children out with us now. And Lily.
Go lift it up, love bless your way, moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day.
La bella luna. When I see a glimpse of a full moon, I feel temporarily frozen as I fulfill my acknowledgement of her beauty. I am moonstruck. And if you were in my neighborhood, you may hear me singing this line from Dean Martin's hit, "When the moon hits your eye." As a young child, I remember doing chores outside in the evening with my dad while loving the quiet night sky and our time together, watching carefully as we burn things, putting things away. I loved to be included when the neighborhood family that I later married into carried telescopes outside and laid out blankets to gaze at the stars. David and I still look forward to the moments together to cherish new night views, sometimes even the owls in our neighborhood. Though I still struggle to accept the cold night shivering or hot night mosquito bites as I feel the moon's pull. The darkness of the waxing and waning brings mystery, but leaves my heart wanting a little more. I celebrate the biggest and the brightest moons. I love a colorful sunset, one of my favorite things, but gazing at the moon in silence puts my world in place with its peace. In addition to our, each week in our church we take up an offering. Our energy and resources are the gift of what we share. By contributing to the growth of this community, we affirm it and enable its participation in the world around us. We hope to remain a voice and our instrument of our free faith, united in the spirit of love, courage, and service. Please join me in a responsive reading, number 603, in your great hymnal, Beyond Words. Existence is beyond the power of words to define. In the beginning of heaven and earth, there were no words. And whether we dispassionately see to the core of life or passionately see the surface, the core and the surface are essentially the same. Words make them seem different, only to express appearance. If name be needed, wonder names them both. From wonder into wonder existence opens.
Thank you, Maria. Our theme for this month is mystery, and today we are all about mystery and hope and anticipation and owls and moons. And from the story that we read just earlier, we watched silently with heat in our mouths, the heat of all those words we had not spoken. With all due respect to Lao Tzu and the reading we just shared in and the inscrutability of existence, words have power. They have energy. Even words not spoken, words held inside or expressed only in a gesture or in a breath on a frosty mitten. Words are a basic building block of culture. They connect us. They are the sinew of the body politic. If you have ever made soup from bones, you know it's not the bone that provides the flavor and the structure. It's the connective tissue, the stuff in between, the ligament, same root as in the word religion, that gives broth its body and its power to warm your soul. Owl Moon has been a touchstone book for us, a part of the Kraemer canon. As I said, it was given to us by my Aunt Joyce, who has been a font of superb children's books over many years. We read it often. We read it often to our sons as they were growing up. Just as the stories that we read here on a Sunday speak not just to the children, but to the adults, Owl Moon has spoken to me. I have wanted to be just such a parent as Pa, living deeply, patiently, teaching my kids to love winter and owls and the forests and the moon. That line, the heat of words not spoken, has always caught me, always stood out. I know exactly what the author means by way of feeling, that sense of warmth that lives inside your chest on a cold day, kept in by keeping your mouth shut. But the connection with words, that's the interesting part. She doesn't just say that breathing through your nose and not your mouth helps warm the air before it reaches your lungs. She says it's the words inside you, burning, keeping you warm and alive. It makes you not want to let too many of them out. I, on the other hand, have not always followed this advice. I have made a career, 2 careers, in fact, out of words. Words have been my life. As I come to turn the page on yet another chapter, and as I was thinking about this sermon, I wondered how many words I have written over more than 40 years. In fact, I have boxes of old newspaper clippings. Used to be that's the only way you could show someone your work product if you wanted to interview for a new job. And I have several more totes of some sermons from early on in my ministry until digital and video archives took over. All of this stands as a monument to verbosity. With just a little math, multiplying the number of sermons I've written just since I've been here with you at United, times the average number of words I crank out, I came to more than 500,000 words, 500,000 words in just the last 7.5 years. Counting my time in Sioux Falls and Minnesota and Rockford, Illinois, and all the papers written in seminary and an undergraduate degree and a few random letters to people and an astronomical number of shopping lists, and not to mention 24 years in journalism, I must have written millions of words in my life. Every one of them well chosen. Well, almost. There was a time as a cub reporter when I waxed on about a house fire that destroyed the home of a woman she had shared for 30 years with her deceased husband. Words have power. They have energy. They shape who we are. Mary and I recently watched the movie Arrival with Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner about a linguistic expert who was co-opted by the Army to interpret with a pod of extraterrestrials who have arrived on Earth. She has to figure out how to talk to them, learn their language, communicate. In the dialogue, the two main characters explore the theory that learning a new language can actually rewire your brain. It can make you think differently, even affecting your concept of time. An example of this might be in how some languages here on Earth do not contain tenses in the same way that we understand them in English. That makes a sentence like, "What would have happened if I had stepped off the curb as that car ran a red light?" Make no sense. Without a past tense, even the car running the red light becomes a different kind of a fact, let alone the supposition about something that might have happened but never did. Without a past tense or a future tense, everything has to be expressed in terms of now. In fact, many Southeast Asian languages are among those like this. So no wonder Lao Tzu is so wrapped up in the now. He's not so much being a philosopher as he's just speaking his own language. In the movie, the Amy Adams character comes to write a book, The Universal Language, which to me is more of a play on the word universal as in the physical universe, which might or might not even be finite, more than it is the sense of universal as infinite. From my own limited understanding, there is some debate about whether languages here on Earth all have some universal common root. Are there sounds, vocalizations that are shared by all humans such that the languages of the world are all simply tongues of the same fire? What I know of this is that, no, there are not, at least as far as we can tell. Language and culture are all wrapped up with each other, and as alike as we are, we also are different. Words have power. They have energy. They shape who we are. That's why, as you use, we try to pay attention to the words that we choose. If you speak of God as Lord or Master, and if you choose your metaphors from the feudalism of the Middle Ages, that's going to affect how you see not just religion, but politics and sociology too. If you choose not to see yourselves as soldiers marching as to war, but rather as a rose ere blooming, that affects your theology. The power of words to shape reality is why it's good to avoid stereotypes and pejoratives. It's why personal pronouns matter. It's why ageism and racism and sexism and ableism and 1,000 daily microaggressions continue to thrive as we fail to pay attention to language. There is an excellent editorial in today's Journal Sentinel, if you have a chance to catch it, by James Causey on just such a use of language. We give shape not just to ourselves, but to the world around us with the words that we choose. Tonight, we're going to try to speak another language, sort of. We're going to ask the owl, who cooks for you? Who cooks for you? Except that maybe the owl will hear it as, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? I don't know. I'm a long ways away from being able to actually communicate with owls or beavers or space aliens. What I know is that a long time ago, when we lived in a small town along the Mississippi River, I learned to hoot with sufficient proficiency as to sometimes get an owl to hoot back. Our house was the last house in the tiny city limits. It faced the road and a farm field on the other side. Its backyard sloped up to wooded bluffs beyond. There were very few lights. On spring nights, I would step out the back, cup my hands, and talk with an owl. Then we moved to Racine, in the middle of that city, a few blocks from Lake Michigan, with sprawling suburbs all around. I missed my house in the valley. I was not sure I had always made the right choice. I felt that mix of melancholy and remorse that comes with a move. As an English speaker, I understand past tense. And then one night, standing outside the house in Racine, over the rooftops came a call, a barred owl. I cupped my hands and I hooted back. We called like that, back and forth a long time. And I imagined the owl's call was getting closer. I stood very still with heat in my mouth, and just then, the neighbor's motion detector light flashed on. The owl called no more. I was alone again. Our conversation had come to an end. But it reminded me. It brought me home. Words have power. They have energy. They shape who we are. Let's sing together. Hymn number 352. In your gray hymnals or here on the wall, you may remain seated for this.
Find a stillness, hold a stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
So here's the moon. If you haven't seen it this week, you're probably not going to see it yet tonight anymore because it's clouded up. But it has been a spectacular week for what is known as the beaver moon. It's been full all week. We are going to take a hike this afternoon starting at 5:30 at Retzer Nature Center. And we're going to try to hoot an owl. I have no idea whether there will be an owl or there will not. That's the point of the book. But we're going to go out. The kids have been invited, and as many adults as want to join us, please come. please come. It will be dark. We will take the paths at Retzer. They are paved, and then there is a boardwalk, so it should be pretty good footing. I was out there yesterday, and there was some snow, so there were some slippery patches. I think that the rain last night has probably gotten rid of all of that, and it's going to be warm for the rest of the day. So we should be pretty good, but wear sensible shoes, as the good you that you are, and please come join us if you wish. We'll go looking for some owls. I want to thank Maria Hinners, who was our worship facilitator today, and Alex Chilsen, our musician, Aaron Hurwitz, our tech, and Abby Marquin, who is with the kids right now. So thank you, everyone, for coming. Alex will close this out with a postlude. Please join for coffee and conversation as you like in the fellowship hall down below. And then, as we had said, we'll reconvene back here to talk about our welcoming congregation renewal status sometime closer to noon. When you do go, please, as always, go in love. Seek justice, find peace.
Of a place I love even more than I usually do. And although I know it's a long road back, I promise you I'll be home for Christmas. You can count on me. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents on the tree. Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams. I'll be home for Christmas if only Thank you.